Welcome back to JetBlue Park, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia as spring training continues with the Grapefruit League opener later today against the Minnesota Twins. I'm joined this time by senior Red Sox writer and editor for WEEI.com. It is my pleasure to welcome Rob Bradford into these reports. Rob, it's a privilege.
Well, first of all, I want to say how honored I am to be in your presence and be on your show, Trags, and it's a great way to kick off my spring training. Thank you very much.
It's a joy to have you here, Rob. Let's first of all start by talking about a player who is no longer here, but John Farrell addressed it. Thought it was a bit of interesting news that he got a special call from a free agent who is now in New York playing for the Yankees. He got that call in the offseason.
Yeah, I assume you aren't talking about Brian McCann. We're talking
I am
about
not.
Jacoby Ellsbury. Yeah, absolutely. John Farrell talked about getting that call, but I found it interesting after initially mentioning that fact that he said that with Jacoby Ellsbury stole bases. We understand that dynamic, right? But that dynamic was not going to make them score more runs than they could potentially score this year. He feels they'll score just as many runs, if not more, with the less stolen bases with a different approach to the leadoff spot. You're talking about Johnny Gomes is today hitting leadoff, but you also have Shane Victorino, Daniel Nava, Grady Sizemore, and potentially Jackie Bradley Jr. if he progresses offensively.
What do you think it said about Jacoby Ellsbury picking up the phone and calling Farrell and offering congratulations? This is not a hated Yankee by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, I think the other thing that was noteworthy in what Farrell said about that conversation was that Ellsbury had insinuated to him that he was surprised how quickly it came about. Not only how quickly it came about, but how quickly it escalated in terms of years and dollars, because we know where the Red Sox were standing, about $80 million, significantly less than where the Yankees were. Maybe they thought it was going to go up a little bit, but it was never going to go up to that level. And everyone knows that only the Yankees were the only team that was going to go to that level, so you just let them walk.
All right, the health issues still a concern early in spring training for those guys trying to get their feet under them, namely Grady Sizemore. He's been really the talk of the first couple of games here in training camp. The fact that John Farrell said he felt great after his first performance against Northeastern, a couple of flyouts. You read anything into the fact that he's playing his second game in 3 days on Saturday against Minnesota?
His legs are still attached. That was a step in the right direction. But I said this yesterday. I think that this is a huge step in the right direction for Grady Sizemore. The fact that he was playing in the first game of the year, the first exhibition game, and now this is the next positive bit of news that you feel okay and you're scheduled to play the next time around. John Farrell also talked about stolen bases, because we talked about hitting and the things that he has to get back in the batter's box. We also has to get back that feel for stealing bases. He was a very good base stealer, and John Farrell said that's something that might come later on in spring training. Got to take it slow, don't put cart before a horse, and then but by the end of spring training, maybe you'll have a couple of attempts under his belt. Something
you wrote about on WEEI.com on the Full Count blog, Rob, was the situation regarding John Lackey. You had a chance to talk with him. He is scheduled, if everything fulfills itself, to make just $500,000 in 2015. That was part of the rework as insurance, a different type of insurance on his contract. I guess the question, and I talked to you about this in the clubhouse a little ways away from here yesterday, do you think it'll get to that point where he actually plays and pitches for $500,000?
You know, I think in a perfect world, in the everyone wants to be happy world, you would think that they might reorganize that and restructure that, but this is also the business world, and the way that they have it set up right now in terms of what's allocated to the starting pitching is so good for them. It allows them to go out and sign a guy like John Lester to a contract of more than $20 million a year plus, because you have Felix DeBron, who hasn't even hit arbitration. You have Clay Buchholz, who is scheduled not even to make more than 13 and a half in 2017, and you have a bunch of young pitchers, and then you have John Lackey making the major league minimum. So you would think that, hey, you know what, maybe they'll reorganize it, and I think that Lackey will at least broach those discussions. I just don't know if they're going to go down that road knowing what they have in hand.
We know, Rob, that they're taking it cautiously when it comes to the relievers who had a lot of high leverage situations in an extra month of baseball last year. What about the starting pitchers? You know, it's somewhat, I think, a little bit unusual to see the starting pitching start so late into the spring training season. Felix Doubront was going to start on Saturday against the Twins. That's been moved back to Sunday now. Is it just a matter of they want to be as cautious with the starting rotation and limit the innings simply because they know what they have in the rotation already?
Yeah, I think there's an element of that you do know what these guys are going to deliver if healthy, and this is a case that they threw a lot of innings, they threw a lot of pitches. John Lester threw more pitches than anybody in baseball last year, so they know that they're going to take it slow, and typically you're going to get up to 25, 27 innings in the course of a spring training for the starting rotation. Well, they're looking more at like 20 innings this time around, but what they will do, Trags, is that they will probably pitch in more B games, which is minor league games, which is more of a controlled environment. So that's something that you should look for, and that doesn't usually count against the spring training stats. But they know what they're doing. They have these veteran guys, and the other guys, the young guys, will get more of a chance, and you get more of a chance to see what they can do.
We'll wrap it up by talking about a young catcher who really, I'm fond of catchers. I think they are.
You're the Christian Vasquez of the media.
Well, that leads us into exactly what I wrote about today, Friday, on WEEI.com on the blog, and that is Christian Vasquez. This guy is still only 23 years old. He was drafted as a 17-year-old prospect out of Puerto Rico. He's made a lot of improvement on the offensive side of the plate. We know he has a gun. We know he has quick feet, but in terms of what we could expect to see, is he a dark horse, not to start the season, but later in the season as a potential call-up if he shows he can hit at AAA?
I think absolutely. I think there's a very good chance we're going to see him in the major leagues at some point this year. Because when John Farrell's talking about him, we all know about the defense. We all know what he can do in that respect. But he's saying all phases of the game, he's a promising guy. And he showed that a little bit against the college kids. He hits the home run. He has a pretty good offensive year last year. So, yeah, I think that if you look at what he has done everything that you would hope he would do in terms of getting him on track for the major leagues. And he's fun to watch in spring, right? He's one of the guys who
he can actually show off in spring.
Right,
show off his skills.
You wanted one of those BC kids to get on base and try to steal, because we want to ooh and ah about him throwing a second. So I guess it's something to look forward to.
All right, the Grapefruit League schedule officially begins on Friday with a game against Minnesota. Red Sox immediately return the favor on Saturday against the Twins at Hammond Stadium. We'll have complete coverage on WEEI.com/spring training. Be sure to click it there for the latest from Rob and yours truly. He's Rob Bradford, my boss. I'm Mike Petraglia in Fort Myers with the Red Sox, WEEI.com.
The Trag Show.